Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
My name is Jeff.
And we have a very special guest with us today, our good friend Jamie, who you may know as Rantasmo from the YouTube channel Needs More Gay.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So Jamie, you've been a friend of ours for quite a while.
Yeah.
Since high school.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been doing your YouTube channel for longer than we've been doing our podcast. So you've been doing it for
about 10, 11 years.
A lot longer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was just looking at the channel there earlier, and I realized wow, yeah, you put up videos like years ago.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on the show. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I guess I always forget to do this. In fact, last week I even had to end up making it into a formal question on the podcast. How'd you get into tabletop gaming?
Sure. So I first played in high school, I'm pretty sure. But I think my first regular game was with you, actually.
Okay.
That was kind of my first, kind of experience with it. I liked it. It was, I've always been into I guess in traditional role playing games, like video games. But this was the first one where you could actually, kind of do anything you want.
Sure. Well, anything you want, through the lens of me being a terrible DM who railroaded everything. And was very inflexible.
We've all grown since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, listeners, Jamie was in the first group I ever DM'd. And we played for a couple of years or something, maybe.
Quite a while. Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like it was forever, but then again, we were little babies back then.
Sure.
So who knows? So, yeah, we've referenced you on the show at least a few times. I mean, we've been doing this a long time, so at least a few times. But, listeners, if you haven't checked out, well, why don't you tell our listeners about your YouTube channel and where they can find you?
So I do a show on YouTube called Needs More Gay. You can get to it at just needsmoregay.com. We'll take you there. It's basically a sort of, I talk about LGBT media and culture, just talking about various kind of, a lot of movies and TV shows and games and just kind of general entertainment nerdy stuff, but through a sort of queer theory LGBT centric lens.
Sure.
So I'll kind of look at different ways that LGBT people have been represented and just sort of LGBT culture just kind of as a whole in what I hope is an entertaining way.
Sure. Yeah. And it occurred to me after I asked you to be on the show that this is also Pride Month, and this episode should be going on.
That was intentional, obviously.
Gabe always thinking ahead. Oh man,
I guess. I was watching one of Dominic Noble's videos.
I am friends with him.
Well, and so I was watching this, and I can't remember what it was. He said something, and I thought to myself, I wonder if Dominic Noble plays D&D. If he does, I'll send him an email and see if he wants to be on the podcast.
I feel like he must have played, at the very least.
But then I realized, wait a minute, Jamie has at least done a video or a stream with him. So Jamie knows him in some way. I've never had Jamie on the show, and I know Jamie plays D&D. So
there you go.
Anyway, so that's how I got to that.
Sure.
And it's awesome that you were available so quickly.
Yeah.
And
I don't have a lot going on.
I guess.
Turns out.
I guess. Join the club. So Jeff, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Skylar and I saw some. We saw people in person yesterday. And we're gonna go. And we got to go see more people in person. Yeah, right. We got to go see more people in person today, and it's nerve-wracking and exciting, but
sure.
It's it's all people we know and are fully vaccinated and things like that, and it's
sure.
So I am very nervous socially, and I know I'm gonna get exhausted because we're basically double triple booked for the next 4 weekends because everyone's just trying to see each other again.
Yeah.
So
I know what you mean.
Other than that, I'm doing pretty good today.
Cool.
How about Gabe? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Keeping busy, working a lot. Work kind of sucks. I found out that my work, they keep giving us mandatory overtime, which sucks. And at the end of every week, whatever our last day of the week is, they usually try to tack on an extra hour or two just because they can, because there's no shift coming in right after us, so they can do that. And for a while, they would keep us for an extra 2 hours every week, extra 2 hours at the end of every week. And lately they've only been keeping us an extra 1 hour. And I thought to myself, oh man, they're going easy on us. They see that, they're working us too hard. And so they're only giving us 1 extra mandatory overtime hour. I found out, no, it's because technically they weren't allowed to be giving us 2 hours and they got caught.
Yeah.
So now they're still giving us the maximum.
Right.
But the maximum is lower than the maximum used to be.
Yeah,
so.
no, that's an employer for you. They will do the absolute maximum that they possibly can do to exploit you and more until they get caught.
So corporations suck. If you have sick time, take it and don't feel guilty.
Do not feel that is that is important.
Thank you for joining us for our anarcho-socialist D&D podcast.
Yes.
All right. So speaking of which, you guys want to go ahead and jump into this episode?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I want the two of you to imagine you're in a dungeon and you're walking along and you come up to 2 doors.
Ooh.
And in front of those 2 doors are 2 guards. And one of the guards says, "I'm the guard that always tells the truth." And then the other guard says, "No, I'm the guard that always tells the truth." What do you do?
Oh, shoot. What is that?
So
I just go, okay, and then walk through the door on the right.
Yeah, I'd probably just nice to meet you. I'll be on my way, good sirs.
Okay. Fair enough. There was an order of the stick where they come up to this conundrum. And while Varsuvius, the wizard, is like, so we, starts rattling off the strategy of how you're supposed to get the correct answer from these guards. Haley just walks up and shoots one of them. And then the guard's like, you didn't shoot me.
Right, yeah.
Okay, well, so you which door do you go through, though? Is the question, the door on the left or the door on the right?
I'd probably go through both eventually. I'd probably go through one and get all the treasure and then come back and go to the other branch.
Maybe I should have specified that there is a sign that says something about one of the doors leading to treasure and one leading to certain death.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
You get close. You see that it's printed in really small text on the door. Doors themselves.
Jamie, one of us can go in the other door, and we'll just promise whoever gets the treasure, we'll send some of it back to our next of kin.
Let's circle back to these 2 guards. What are you guys doing here? What is your life?
The first guard says, we're just hanging out here because we enjoy being here. And then the other guard says, he's telling the truth, is what the second guard says.
Wait. So is one of the guards lies and the other guard is just sassy?
I don't know.
I think I saw some tweet one time that was there were 2 guards. One of them is always hot. One of them is always cute.
All right. I'll ask the guards which door leads to the treasure.
Both of them actually point to the left door.
Okay. Can we ask you multiple questions?
Wait, if they
both of them say no.
What?
All right, I'm just gonna go through.
That doesn't even make. Okay.
I'm gonna go through the right door.
Okay, so Jeff, you open up the right door.
I will let Jeff go through the right door and see what happens.
And as you do, both the guards say, no, that's certain death. And so you open the door, and behind the door, you see the glint of gold and silver and gems and magic items and so on. And you realize, Jeff, that you have stumbled across, I guess maybe stumbled isn't the right word. You have deftly discovered the Dragon's Hoard.
So one of them lied, one of them is just really sassy and so lies sometimes.
Well, so they were both liars.
Both of them are just humans who can lie and tell the truth as they wish.
That's right, true. I didn't specify. I did not say at any point that one of them would tell the truth and one would lie. So this is the Dragon's Hoard, and Jamie, I believe you had a magic item. to talk about today?
So in general, I'm more of a player than a DM. I've only been a DM like a few times, and I ran out of steam very quickly when I DM.
Sure.
I'm in a campaign right now, and we just found an item called the Liar of Liars.
Yes.
This is an intelligent item. It's a liar.
So Lyre, the harp.
It's the Lyre off liars.
So not of liars,
yeah,
a liar off
because
liars.
So the creator of this item wanted to off liars. Basically, he wanted to kill liars.
Yeah.
So what the item does is it's intelligent, and within a certain radius, if you fail your will save probably, you are unable to lie. So it basically is used to identify liars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you said it was intelligent. Did the
So right now we basically got it as part of a we were sent on the quest to go find this item by a museum curator. So we brought it. So right now it is being displayed in a museum, probably with some sort of precautions to let people, because it obviously people can't lie around it, so that can cause some problems.
Sure.
So
right.
yeah, that is the item.
There you go. I watched Supernatural a few months ago. I watched the whole series, like all from beginning to end.
All 12,000 episodes.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of episodes. Yeah. There is a point in, I think, the second to last season where one of the characters, who has a huge amount of power at this point in the series, no spoilers, I guess, one of the characters gets upset that people keep lying to him, and so he basically just yells out, like, no more lying. And the entire world, for a brief period, is unable to lie. And so it very quickly devolves into anarchy and chaos. I think the characters go to some, office building, and someone walks in and is like, all right, who ate my yogurt? And then someone stands up and he's like, I ate your yogurt. And he's still got the spoon or something. And then they all start throwing stuff, whatever. It's kind of goofy, but... the inability to lie would be a pretty big thing. I think could lead to some fun at the table, especially if the players play into that. You know.
Constant zone of truth, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Carry that around with you.
Yeah.
You can't trick the NPCs, but they have to tell you the truth. So.
Yeah. But then, of course, you got to establish, can you dodge the truth? Do you have to tell the whole truth? Or could you just be silent?
Yeah, I think it's probably, I think just that you are unable to lie. So, yeah, you can just avoid talking or, do the sort of technically I didn't lie. I just said I didn't
sure.
Sort of thing.
A couple things come to mind, a couple bits of pop culture. There was a TV show called Sliders that I used to really like back in the 90s. It was about this college student and his girlfriend and his professor and this guy that happened to be driving by at the time. They have this device that creates a portal, and if they go through the portal, they end up in an alternate universe. And then something happens and they can't get back to their own universe. They have to randomly go from universe to universe to universe. There's an episode that largely revolves around a world where dinosaurs still exist. They're in a national park or something, like the reservation, I guess, for dinosaurs. But it starts out in a universe where everybody has to wear these collars that when you lie, shock you. And the more you do it, the worse it gets. And eventually you can die if you lie too much.
Oh, geez.
And the characters are the timer is about to create a new portal in 10 seconds. And they're running away from this news van that's trying to get all their information. And I think one of the characters just yells, "No comment," as they jump through the thing. And it's played off as if nobody ever thought to do this.
Right.
Which is kind of goofy.
In a world where you can't lie, it never occurred to them to just not say anything.
I guess, yeah. And then another thing that comes to mind is there is a Mitchell and Webb sketch. Mitchell and Webb's a British comedian duo. They had a sketch comedy show, and one of the sketches was kind of like the Pied Piper, except instead of the Pied Piper having a pipe that makes kids follow him, he has a pipe that when he plays it, everyone around him says inconvenient truths about themselves.
Oh, no.
So, if you're secretly a racist, you will... And sorry, it's not even that you say it, it's that you sing it. You sing it along with the tune he's playing.
Wonderful.
And I think he gives the pipe to somebody because he gives it to someone that he perceives as being a good person, but then the quote-unquote good person starts using it to get back at people that wronged him. And anyway. So yeah, being able to lie is an underappreciated skill, I guess.
Skill.
Yeah.
And not being able to do it could lead to fun at your table. So,
True. That'd be neat.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like Jeff said, there is a spell that does it. Zone of Truth. You know, it is a thing. So, so use it, I guess, is the lesson here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was the Liar Off Liars, courtesy of was it? So who was the person that created it?
Yeah. So my friend Dan is our DM for that game.
Cool. So anyway, submitted by Jamie in person. Thank you very much, Jamie, for submitting the Liar Off Liars. That'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard today. Jeff, if anybody else wanted to submit magic items for the Dragon's Hoard, or they wanted to submit questions for us to discuss, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com or join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. So before we go any further, Jamie, do you want to tell our listeners how they can contact you, where they can see your videos? I know you mentioned your website earlier, but anything else you want to
plug? You can go to my YouTube channel if you go to needsmoregay.com. I'm also on Twitter at Rantasmo. I think that's pretty much the best way to get in touch with me.
Okay, cool. Well, before we go any further, we have a giveaway to give away today. As usual, we're giving away a copy of 3 supplements from Crit Academy, the Warmind, the Skybreaker, and the Werecat, along with a few other things that Justin is sending out as well. So, Jeff, who is the winner of our giveaway today?
Today's winner is Nathan H.
Winner. Gobble, gobble. Yes. Congratulations, Nathan H., a.k.a. Seawood Scribe. You should be getting those in your email pretty soon, within the next few days. If you don't, be sure to let us know. Also, be sure to leave reviews for Crit Academy. For each of these products, you can leave a review. So please do that, because the more reviews they get, the more attention they get. Also, the more they'll know to work on making products better in the future. So please leave them reviews. Thank you very much to Crit Academy for facilitating this giveaway. Justin's always coming up with, great and awesome stuff, and he's always looking to grow his brand and help us grow ours as well. So big thank you to him. Thank you, Nathan H., for entering. Jeff, if anybody else wanted to enter this drawing, if they want to get a chance at winning these 3 or more supplements, how would they enter the drawing?
They can enter by sending us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with Crit3 in the subject line.
That's correct. Do you love Interparty Conflict? You know, the show you're listening to right now? Yeah! Then check out their Patreon at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. You can help support the show and get tons of bonus content too. Access hundreds of outtakes, dozens of short stories, periodic updates about the behind the scenes of the show, personalized media, a monthly Roll20 game run by Gabe himself, and more. Every month, Green and Red Tier patrons get access to the bonus podcast InterPatronConflict, where Gabe and Jeff cover a wide variety of topics. Join right now and access the most recent episode, which might sound a little something like this. I don't even know how it started. It's just at some point I started saying the phrase tether bunnies as it envisioning that we had tied the rope around our rabbit, Mops. And so she was just flying around, swinging around on this rope.
This sounds horrific.
It does sound horrific. I don't know how this started in the first place.
Yeah, but anyways, back to tether bunnies. So at one point the ball just completely became untied from the rope.
We had been throwing it at each other's faces for a little while.
Got tired of it
because we were like, surely it's not going to hit anybody. And then I don't remember what we were doing. Somebody just tossed it to the side or whatever, and then it tore off.
Well, yes.
So we were extremely lucky that it tore off after we were done rocketing it at each other's faces.
And that was the trip where I disappeared with the ghost dogs.
Yes. Once again, go to patreon.com/interpartyconflict to help out the show and access all that bonus content today. And then one more quick thing. Check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy at critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Austin create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. Also check out Brute Force and Ignorance. They are an actual play podcast that have been, they're back from hiatus. They are putting out more episodes. Check out D&D Character Lab, where Garen and Dan made characters every week and pitted them against each other. And check out The Kind GM, which is another advice podcast for people that are running a game. So check out all those other podcasts. Check out Rantasmo at Needs More Gay. Check all that out. Enough of all the admin. Let's get into some questions.
All right, our first question comes from Alan Smithy on Reddit, and they ask, what types of characters do you tend to play, and to what extent do you tend to play an idealized version of yourself?
Yeah, so Jamie, what sort of characters do you tend to play?
I find that even when I'm playing characters who's ostensibly not myself, I kind of default to going back to myself anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it just kind of, so I'm kind of a huge control freak is the thing. And in real life, I'm very safe. Like, I don't take a lot of risks. I'm just like, you have to need to all stay together. We don't do anything that might result in any bad consequences.
Yeah.
And I think in a game, I kind of take that sort of role. Like, okay, no, everyone check the door for traps. Even if I'm playing a very kind of headstrong, kind of brash character, I kind of inevitably sort of revert back to, okay, we need to all be very careful and sort of trying to maintain control of a situation.
Yeah.
But lately, it kind of depends on the type of campaign I'm in a little bit.
Sure.
I'm in a campaign right now where it's all the players and the DM are all have a theater background, and so they're all very good at improv.
Sure.
And so that's a game where it's kind of more about telling the story. And I think the first character I made for that campaign ended up kind of being so the character's name was Indigo. They're a satyr. A satyr sorcerer, and I just kind of fell into he always has a wine glass. His arcane focus is a wine glass. He's always carrying this wine glass around. He's always drinking wine. He's always yes, wonderful. And it's kind of someone described him as basically an organic version of Hedonism Bot from Futurama.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and it was just so much fun, and that's a character where I immediately I felt like I embodied that character, and it is sort of an idealized version of myself who's just very very loose and charming, and that's who I would like to be, you know. So that's an example I think of one where I rather than just kind of being myself in the game was more this is who I would like to be, you know.
Sure.
Did they have a familiar named Jambi?
No, they didn't.
Perhaps you and I and Jambi.
To an extent, I feel like a lot of what you said applies to me as well. I do often kind of revert to the same kind of character even though I will often try to play characters that are different. I try to make every character as different as I can in concept from the character that I played previously. You know, if I played a wizard, I'll try to play a fighter. If I played a character that was really, really smart, I'll try to play the character that's really dumb or headstrong or whatever. But I think that whereas you're saying you tend to play things really safe, in real life, I'm a fairly safe person as well. I rarely take risks. However, in games, that's something I specifically find myself fighting against. I know that when we play games, a lot of people do tend to be cautious and never split the party and such. I'm the kind of person that's no, split the party. Fun stuff might happen if you split the party. And so, I don't know. I tend to be a little bit more adventurous, I guess, when I am playing characters. That's the thing. Even when the character isn't an adventurous type, I find myself just trying to inject that adventure or whatever into the party, even if it's not necessarily the type of character I should be playing.
Basically I have a similar outlook, but because I'll usually try to play cautious. But then there'll be times where it's when the whole group is being cautious, and then you're spending an hour on one locked door.
Yeah.
That it might not actually be locked because we haven't actually checked it yet because we're just too afraid that there might be a trap on it.
Yeah.
It's it's a door to a storage room in an old abandoned mine. There's probably not a trap on it. I don't know. So there'll be times where I might make a character who is more reserved or whatever.
It really does. Like, I think the characters I end up playing kind of really depend on who else, like what characters other people are playing.
Yeah.
Like if I'm in a more like outgoing kind of role play, like people are doing accents sort of group, I'll kind of, fall more into like a different character.
Yeah.
Like with certain games, it's almost sort of like playing a video game in that, you're not really about embodying the character. You're about, okay, I need to get to the next room.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like I want to get all the achievements, so I need to do this thing,
Which is fine. It's a very different style of play.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we got to get through. We got to open up every door in the dungeon and see and do 12 search checks in every room so to make sure we don't miss any of the secret doors and things like that. And that's a valid way to play.
Mm-hmm.
And like I kind of prefer more mechanics heavy stuff, and then and then you throw in as much storytelling and role playing as you pepper it in there when you can. Which is why I'm really enjoying. We've been playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Yeah,
and it's like
very mechanical,
and they've built it so much like a game, like it's more like a video game than anything else. But you still have the freedom of storytelling and stuff like that. There's a lot of you can put a lot of cool story behind all of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do tend to go with what like the same with like roles and classes that I pick for my characters. Like I choose the ones that's most needed in the group. Like I try to do that same thing with the way that the character acts, but my own personality does sort of leak in there, which is usually more reserved and quiet and just like, okay, whatever. But then I'll have those moments where I have to perk up and be like, oh, let's just go through the door, guys. Like, let's do it.
I almost feel like over the years, my characters, there was definitely a huge portion of my gaming career where every character was basically just me. It was just whatever I would do in that situation. That's what I would do. I do find myself, and it might be because I'm playing D&D less, and so now I'm less focused on let's just play this game. And now I'm like, no, we got to do all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And so I do find myself now doing more of like the weird or the adventurous or the stuff that you wouldn't do if you were just trying to play it safe. So I think that's why. I think it's because I've been playing D&D less that now I'm like, I have to make the best use of this.
Sure.
So dying might happen, but I have to do this and this and this. I have to do all this fun stuff,
If you die, you get to make another character.
I guess, yeah. Speaking of the Pathfinder game that we've been playing with Jay, actually. So Jamie played with us when the very first campaign I ever ran. It was me, Jamie, Jay, and our friend Steve. Jay and Steve have also both been on the show at some point or another. So that's everybody. Mm-hmm. And then Jeff came along.
Oh, dang it.
But I think by then, Jamie had graduated.
That sounds about right, yeah.
But anyway, so we've been playing this game that Jay has been running, and I'm playing a paladin in that campaign, and I keep finding myself like, yes, I'm doing stuff. I do stuff that is like brash and ignorance of fear, I guess. But at the same time, I'm also really playing up my character's fear because my character almost died a couple times. And so like, I'm trying to play that up. There was a point where we thought that we saw a monster through a door. And so we spent like 3 rounds or something gathering up the courage to like run through this door and attack this monster. I think, well, at least I was doing that. Jeff, you just went through like a hole in the ceiling and you peeked down at them from above. And it turned out it was not a monster at all. It was like, it was like literally a scarecrow.
Right. Yeah.
But,
well, yeah, because it was like a bridge between buildings and I was on the roof of one.
Yeah.
And, like you popped your head in, you saw what was basically a skeleton or some sort of skeletal warrior or something.
I think I got like a natural 1 or something on my perception.
Maybe yeah. And and like the idea was like, oh, okay, back off and then prepare because it probably saw you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's wait for this thing to come in through the door and we can attack it.
And then it didn't.
And then it didn't. And then it didn't. and then I peeked over and I'm playing like the fighter ranger type, so like it was like, okay, good enough perception, like, oh, this is just a scarecrow, and there's there were like goblins or something in the next building that were hiding behind the scarecrow, but
yeah.
So
but I don't know, I find myself thinking like, okay, what's going to be the most fun? Like, what's the most fun thing to do right now?
Yeah.
So,
and like some of the characters I've been making lately, and the few that I've actually gotten to play, I played an old lady halfling, and that was a lot of fun. Like, you know, I played a feral druid lizard folk, and that was pretty neat. Like I had, you know, I tried to like play it like doing like voices and stuff like that. But again, like I'm pretty quiet and reserved in my playing, so like it didn't happen often. But it was kind of fun to play like something like way outside of just my comfort zone. But it was fun.
Yeah. I feel like, again, with Pathfinder, I feel like, Jeff, you've been really like getting into the mechanics. Like recently you've been actually thinking about completely respecing your character just because you found something that mechanically you think would be more fun.
And it wasn't like, it's not like a complete overhaul, but like the way Pathfinder works, it's, you don't have like you don't do multi-classing, but you basically take feats that, instead of taking feats for your class, you're taking feats of another class at like slightly different levels. And I was like, I'll pick up some, instead of just going all fighter, who's really good at a bow. I'll do fighter, who's still decent at a bow, but then also has like alchemical stuff that he can like throw, like alchemist fire and acid and things like that.
Sure. I feel like with my character, I've kind of been not really disregarding the rules, but the mechanics. But the mechanics have not been my main focus at all. I'm cool with just being in the game. You know, just being in the game, and I'll find something fun to do while we're playing. I'm much less concerned about the rules, which is not how I've always been. I definitely think that I've changed quite a bit. And again, I think it's just because I've been playing D&D less, so I'm less focused on the minutia, and I'm just like, just do something that's just fun. You know?
Yeah.
I do always. I have not played second edition Pathfinder, but I played first edition, and I always just like any kind of system where you have like a lot of material to work with.
Sure.
Like, you know, like 3.5. I mean, in Pathfinder, like so much of it is just like available kind of online for free. Yeah. That you can just kind of pull like, oh, like I can have this whole set of spells I can choose from, and that's one of the things I mean, it's because 5e is so new. There isn't as much material. Like you're kind of limited in what spells you can choose. At least, yeah. I suppose if you, I mean, or at least it's you have to like have the books for it in order to actually get all the new stuff. You know.
Sure. The thing with 5e, because actually by this point it's been out for not 10 years. Oh my God. Like 8 or 9 years or something.
God,
by this point.
I'm turning to dust.
But here's the thing: what you're saying is still true. There are far fewer books. At first, the excuse was, "Oh, it's only been out for a little while," but then we realized, no, it's just Wizards of the Coast isn't putting out books. They're putting out books fairly rarely. Instead, they're relying on, for better and for worse, they're relying on users to create their own stuff and putting it up on DM's Guild and such. Yeah. So there are so many Wizards of the Coast sanctioned, not really, I was going to say approved, that's not even really right. There are so many things that are allowed, you know, you can spend a few bucks and play a thing that most people will allow that were created by players.
Yeah.
So because they're relying so much more on that, there's a lot more content, but it is less official.
Sure.
So if you're just playing official 5th edition stuff, yeah, there's barely nothing. And then every like third book they come out with is just a compilation of stuff from previous books. It's a little frustrating to an extent, but I do think that the quality of the stuff is good. Anyway. Yeah. But yeah, with Pathfinder, there is so much stuff, so much content, both 1st edition and 2nd edition. There's still just so much stuff that you can
because I think
do.
2nd edition's only like 2 years old.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And yeah, there's already more books for 2nd edition Pathfinder than there are for 5th edition D&D, I'm pretty sure.
That's insane.
I think, I don't know if that's exactly the case. I feel like that's, as far as like the official books that you can get like hardcover copies of, like I think they're probably pretty neck and neck at this point.
Wow.
But yeah, there's a lot of content for it, and like with Pathfinder, it's like, it's even 2nd edition, like I think all of the official stuff is just up on, you can just look it up online if you want to.
I think so. They're like the lore and stuff. I think is harder to find, but yeah, there's they basically have like an SRD with pretty much everything from second edition on it. So
yeah, I feel like you can kind of almost treat the different characters that people make like kind of, I guess, like Skylar and I. Skylar made this joke yesterday about instead of having a zodiac like based on the stars and planets and when you were born and things like that, you have a zodiac based on what mirror you look best in. So it's like, we were driving somewhere yesterday and she had spent earlier, she was in the bathroom like putting on makeup and stuff, and like sometimes you get like frustrated by fixing yourself up in the morning, and then she sat in the car, looked in the side view mirror and says, "Oh dang, I look good. Okay, cool." And so she's like, "Oh, I'm a side view mirror kind of gal, it's so." Yeah. And then we got into the discussion of zodiacs or something, and she's like, it's not something you should necessarily base your actual life on, because it's just sort of a fun thing like D&D characters. And it's like, so it's like, yeah, D&D characters are kind of like a zodiac, where it's like, do you play the brutish like barbarian type who bursts through doors, or do you play the smart, reserved, like wizard type who likes to think of things very methodically, or like do you play the conniving rogue, who likes to pickpocket everything, and or to unlock every door and check behind every painting. So I don't know if any of my characters say much about me. I mean, they must.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of my I think it is more like our earlier characters probably say more about us than our later characters do.
Sure, yeah.
Because when you're new to D&D or whatever, you kind of just have to put yourself, because I think you're introduced to it being like, you can do whatever you want. Like you can just make a character and have it be whatever you want. And you either make a character based on Legolas or somebody,
right.
Or you say like, all right, well, what would I do? And like, okay, what would I do if I had magic powers, or if I had a sword, or whatever, so. But as you get more experience, and go like, okay, I have played this character enough. Let me try something different. Let me get wild and. Play an old lady or like a feral lizard creature.
I once played a character who was based off of Carol Channing, and then I was like, were you in that game with me?
I think I might have played one session with you.
And that was all we played. I think because I got like a few lines in, and I'm just like, I'm not doing this voice anymore. Not going to keep doing Carol Channing.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, like. There were times where I would practice voices while in the car driving, doing my commute from home or from work or whatever, and I was like, okay, yeah, I think I could sustain that for a little bit. I could maybe do that.
Yeah, giving your character an accent is definitely taking a risk.
Yeah, right. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Even professional voice actors will, they'll say man, I wish I had known that this show was going to have 6 seasons before I decided to do that character voice.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because you might practice a few lines in the voice or the accent, and you go yeah, that's good, I can do that, and then suddenly you have to improv in it, and you're like, ooh, I'm not. Yeah. Oh, the accent is slipping every other sentence. Oh boy.
Sure.
I'm playing a character right now who's has a southern accent, but I feel like it's drifted around from Hank Hill to George W. Bush to just vague the region of the South has really moved around quite a bit.
Sure.
Right, yeah.
So, I really do think that it would be interesting to have, rather than a zodiac of whatever the zodiac symbols are, to have a zodiac of characters you've played that you can point at, that person's totally.
Well, they have all those
Carol
memes.
Channing, Jamie's character.
I see all these memes now that's if you're a warlock, and here's all the traits of a warlock, and they were more. Yeah. Or there's the meme format with the I don't quite get all the meme formats where they have the like monks and clerics and whoever like talking to each other in a group chat. It's just very weird. I see it so much.
I've seen a few of those. Yeah.
I don't know where it's just very like, but I think it's because they are so like archetypal.
Yeah, they're getting to be kind of ubiquitous nowadays.
You're right. I hate the ones where it is just straight up a no thought put into it Zodiac ripoff, where it's just like, are you born on in this month, you're a ranger, or if you're born on this month, you're a cleric, and I'm like, it'll be in a weird order, like it'll start at March, and then the first one will be it'll start in March, and the first one will be sorcerer, and it's like, okay, so obviously the person who made this list was born in March, and their favorite class is sorcerer, because like the list of classes don't go in any order, except for the fact that the top one happened to be sorcerer, and it started at March. Like, okay, so like this means nothing, but it's going to circulate so much through Facebook that you're going to see it like 4 times. You're going to be like, I don't get it. I don't understand why these posts exist.
Yeah, I would be curious if some study could be done about like what the characters you play say about yourself. I mean, it'd be hard to do because everything would have to be person by person. Yeah. It wouldn't be like, if you play a sorcerer, then that means you are this. That's not a thing. But if it is like, well, you played this character, but then you played this character, and what parts of those characters are parts of you?
I feel like there is like a YouTube channel that basically got, I guess, YouTube famous for that kind of video, but for like D&D classes or something like that. Or like I've seen a bunch of those kind of videos where it's like, if one of the more recent ones I watched was for Monster Hunter, like the different weapon styles.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, if you like, if you play the longsword, you just really like anime, because the longsword's just basically a giant katana, and it's like okay, yeah, or or because it's the most powerful weapon in the game, and so everybody plays it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's silliness.
Yeah. One more thing about like playing as myself in my different characters. One thing that I will say is pretty constant in every character that I've ever played is that I'm not an evil person. I like to think that I am not an evil person. I like to think that I am pretty lawful good for the most part. And I really do feel no matter what alignment I try to play, I end up kind of playing them lawful good. It's hard, even when I'm playing a video game.
Yeah.
And I know that none of the characters are real. I'm not even face to face with a real person like in D&D. If I'm given the choice of like, well, I can do this thing that will help an NPC, or I can do this thing that will hurt an NPC, no other changes anywhere, just those two choices, I'm always going to pick the one to help the NPC.
This is why I've been in a couple evil campaigns, and they're so hard because it's like you're there to have a good time, and then it's very difficult to be like, yeah, we burned down the orphanage and stole all their money. Yay!
Hooray!
It can be fun playing evil, but like the actual like you're usually not doing things that are all that like fun in, I guess, depending on what campaign and what sort of evil things you're doing, I suppose. But it's very difficult to make that work, I think.
Yeah. And again, I think it's just that's the type of person I am. Like, Jeff, you were saying that people see D&D as being, you can do whatever you want. And so you tend to do things that are whatever you want. I remember when games like Grand Theft Auto came out, and I would see videos of people, they'd be like, yeah, man, you can be the person you want to be. You can shoot cops. You can break into stores. You can steal, whatever. And I'm like, is that the person you want to be, though? I mean, I understand the sentiment. You can do things that you can't do in other games. So there is some, like even when you're playing D&D, I'm sure that for a lot of people, there is the urge to like, wait a minute, I can't, there's this thing I can't do in other games. Let me try it. Even if that thing is maybe evil or whatever. But I just find myself constantly defaulting to, I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to make another person feel bad, even if that other person is wholly fictional. So I'm going to do the thing that makes me feel better, like a better person in the end.
Yeah,
I guess.
This is kind of why I sort of reject the premise of like Westworld, because it's like,
sure,
this park only like ostensibly only exists so you can do things you can't do anywhere else, but like you have kids there, but like this park exists for murder. Like,
yeah,
how is this in any way kid friendly?
Yeah, murder and rape, pretty much.
Exactly.
Right.
Like,
it's the theme park, yeah.
But in the Old West.
I guess, yeah.
Oh well.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
I guess there is a discussion to be had on whether that is because the people that wrote it wanted to do those things, or because they thought that people in general wanted to do those things. I don't know which one is true, or if either of them are true.
It's the same thing with like The Purge. Like, like, you know, we have to like. I think there's a certain. Like, I'm pretty cynical about like human nature sometimes, but I don't think everyone's just a complete, you know, murderer was waiting to.
Right.
The point I was trying to make is that like, even though in D&D I could go kill people, I guess that's not a
fun experience.
Yeah,
most of the time, like
right.
Like, it can be fun to be a bad guy, but it kind of depends. Like, you kind of have to do it in a way that's actually fun.
Sure.
Like, I'm not gonna go around like murdering NPCs for the heck of it, but at the same time, like, if we come across a camp of goblins, there's not gonna be a whole lot of debate in my brain of whether or not we just attack these guys.
Sure.
So like there is a certain amount of like, whatever, these aren't real. Unless
you're just like a really like asshole DM who's just like, you kill the goblin and then you turn and you see their child crying,
right?
A baby goblin, and he's holding he's clutching a ticket that they were going to go to see Ice Capades. And
I mean, I've done that, not on a macro scale, but I have just thrown out little things like that.
It really depends on the tone of the game your DM is going for.
Right.
That's true.
I feel like that's a thing that should be addressed before the game starts. It's like, hey, okay, this is gonna be like a sort of a game about morality and not just let's kill things. But I think there was a time when we would be like, yeah, let's do that because we want to kind of play with the idea of like, no, yeah, not all goblins are bad kind of thing. But but then I think when we played the Eberron thing, like we had found that there's in the Eberron world, there's basically there's some sort of tool that the law uses. They basically brand people as like criminals or something.
Okay.
Do you remember this at all, Gabe? I think Steve had found this out in like the City of Sharn, one of the City of Sharn books or something, where like there is basically a sort of video gamey like, this is a bad guy, don't feel bad about killing them, kind of like but mechanically, but also kind of like story, like it fit into the story of Sharn or something. Like,
yeah,
it's like everybody is free in the City of Sharn, but there are people that are like, okay, these people have definitely done some bad crap and are known for it. Like, if they attack you, don't feel terrible about killing them.
Sure.
Or something. I don't know. And like, even saying these things make me think like, I was like, oh, that's terrible. That is horrible. That is horrifying. It's a game. Yeah,
definitely.
So yeah, my ideal self wouldn't go around killing just anybody. I just but a lot of my characters, one of my characters wanted to eat people. Like, that feral lizard folk character I made, I specifically built him to shape change into a thing that could swallow medium-sized creatures. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go around. I want to eat things. That's what I want to do. That's how I want to do combat. Is I want to find the bad guy and swallow him.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I would not do that. That is not my ideal
real
self.
life.
Yeah.
I'm against eating people.
Right. Yeah. Like,
sure.
I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm not going to eat people. So
Sure.
All right. I think that'll do it for our regular questions for today, but we do still have our social media questions. And I don't think we got a ton of responses to this week's question. But this week's social media question was, have you ever played a homebrew class, race, or other character option? What was your most memorable experience, and how did you like it? Jamie, have you played any homebrew stuff?
I'm trying to think. We don't normally do homebrew. this is not really what you're talking about exactly. I once played a 4E game where I forget how this happened, but I originally was I think a human, and I eventually got transformed into a weasel, I believe, or a ferret.
Okay.
And I just like stayed a ferret for the rest of the campaign.
Okay. Did you still have all your like class abilities?
I did, and because I had Mage Hand, I could basically move and because I weigh less than 5 pounds, I could move myself around with Mage Hand.
That's pretty good.
Which I think was the main reason I wanted to have it.
Sure.
So I mean, I have played a weasel or a ferret or something. I forget exactly what.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. Yeah, I don't know that I've played that much other homebrew stuff that I can think of.
Okay.
Apart from like this, I mean, in Pathfinder First Edition, like the psionic stuff is technically like third party.
Oh, sure.
But it's kind of like, at least in my group, that's kind of like this one is often more acceptable than playing other third party stuff.
Sure. Jeff, did you have anything?
Nothing I can remember. I know we've made like we always make like tweaks and stuff. Like
Sure.
I mean, like because like we usually play in smaller groups. It's like, oh, here's an extra feat, or you can. I think. Jay let me pick a +1 level adjustment thing where I was just like, all right, I'm going to be a Warforged, but with powerful build. Like,
sure.
That's, that's fun. But
yeah.
nothing out of a third party. Actually, well, it was, I guess it was a DM's Guild thing.
Okay.
That I played around with. That druid character. I was trying to find more forms for it to turn into, and so, but like it was a critter compendium, I think it was called, on DM's Guild.
Okay.
And it just had a bunch of different monsters. It was mostly monsters from earlier editions and stuff that had not been moved to 5th edition yet. So it was a lot of that, but then like a few extras on there, and like one of them was like a giant chameleon, and like that was one of the forms I picked or whatever, and it was like a little powerful for the level that you were able to, like, for the CR that it was, and the fact that I was able to turn into it at earlier levels. Like, it had a ranged grapple with its tongue and everything.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But I mean, it was a lot of fun, and I don't know if it broke the game or anything like that. It just made it so that my character grappled all the time, which I guess can break the game sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think that's the closest thing I can think of recently.
Okay. I think the only thing that came to mind for me was I played a variant barbarian that I came up with, and then Wizards of the Coast ended up coming up with one that was way better than the one that I made.
Oh right, yeah. You were saying like you played it and then you like mentioned it on some forum or something, and they were like,
people
that's
online
way
were like,
too
no, that's gonna be way too powerful. And then the one from Wizards of the Coast was as good as mine, but also got an extra attack around. So
right, and people are probably being like, oh, that's so underpowered.
Yeah.
I did actually think of an example. So my partner Alex does a lot of like homebrew game stuff. We did a 3-5 game where I played a shapeshifter class that he had made, where basically I could turn into a dragon.
Oh,
and
nice.
You kind of built like the shapeshifter form with like different points. A little bit like if you've familiar with the summoner class in first edition Pathfinder.
Oh yeah,
you kind of build you build your summon out of sort of like a point buy system.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. Basically, you built the form you turned into with like by spending points.
Okay, cool.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and that I think that's the best way to do a homebrew is to like take something that is already in the game and like tweak it to what you want it to be.
Sure. We only got one response on Facebook. Sean M says, I started to play a homebrew fix to the 4 Elements monk, but alas, we stopped playing him as his skills were unlocking when our Elemental Evil campaign died due to player disinterest and a campaign that wasn't really too well put together. Yeah, that's kind of the bane of every cool character concept is a campaign that falls apart.
I had actually that exact. So I was in a mage game. Mm-hmm. This was during the pandemic, and it was actually so I've been doing a lot more with like Roll20.
Yeah.
Since the pandemic, I was playing a mage game. I was actually the only American in the game. It was all like European players, so it was kind of like a weird like. I think it started like 11 a.m. And the character was actually so I played if you're familiar with mage, basically you're playing a character who has the ability to kind of do magic, basically change reality in certain ways, depending on kind of how that character views the world.
Sure.
I was basically playing a character who believed that they were a character in a tabletop RPG.
Oh, I love it.
So basically he would do his magic by like rolling dice and like, you know, nice. Like, or, you know, and it would, you know, mechanically sort of, you know, you're going to get a penalty on your rolls because I'm using trick die to like, you know, change the results. So it was an interesting character, but the campaign itself kind of collapsed over some interpersonal drama. So, but that is it's also very difficult to play that kind of character because you want to, like, the whole concept is meta, but you don't want to actually meta game.
Sure.
So I didn't want to like, well, I'll clearly this is a campaign, so I'll go get a quest, like, because you don't want to make it. I don't want to make it like unfair for the. I don't want to make it not fun for the players, or it's very tricky to do that sort of meta thing in without, you know, breaking the rules.
Sure.
Of the actual game.
Over on Reddit, Alstar the Minotaur says, I played a Templar based off of the class of the same name in the Dragon Age video game series. As for memorable experiences, my character discovered an artifact called the Orb of Null in the catacombs beneath the city. The artifact essentially was where all Templars in the world drew their power from. Having only a limited understanding of the item and noting the harm it was causing his spellcasting teammates, he powered the orb down. This essentially allowed magic, which had been repressed for centuries, to break from its containment. When the party resurfaced into the city, it was under siege from within by hordes of undead that had animated spontaneously and clawed their way out from their respective graves. This was one of many miscues that he made, and not the only city he accidentally decimated throughout the campaign.
Oops.
Well, there you go. The lesson here is don't ever do anything.
Yeah.
We did not get any on Twitter. Over on Discord, Lone Wolf Nate says, I created a homebrew subrace for a homebrew game I haven't started yet. So
well, there you go.
Good luck. Good luck with that.
I've like that kind of goes into, like, you know, the best characters are usually go the wayside because of the campaign ending, and sometimes the best ideas die because the campaign never starts. So
do you guys ever reuse a character that like was in a failed campaign in a different campaign?
We actually just talked about this a couple episodes ago. Yes, is the answer.
Yeah.
Collins B says, my first campaign ended up going past level 20 using the Epic Levels supplement from DM's Guild. I got up to level 26 and it was honestly not as overpowered as I expected, and mostly just too much stuff to keep track of. And this was actually the campaign where the original Kongu died, which I didn't expect to happen at level 26. Collins has submitted a couple stories, I think, about Kongu at some point. So, MRV73 says, it's no longer homebrew, but back in 2nd edition, I played a samurai that was also from a community of drow that didn't fall to Lolth, but secreted themselves away. I seem to remember they followed aspects of Ailestray and Loviatar. I've never heard of that last one. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. The society was very lawful neutral with strict rules and rituals to ward off Lolth's influence from reaching them. Cool. That's cool. Yeah, if it's mostly like role playing based, I'm all for that in pretty much every case. Yeah. The Beverage Tea says, okay. Back in the day, I played Baldur's Gate because I think the Beverage Tea has made several Baldur's Gate references in response to social media questions. Back in the day, I played Baldur's Gate. Inside the Candlekeep introduction adventure, a wild homebrew attacked my character in the priest's quarters. It sucked. And after that, I hated homebrews for the rest of my role-playing days. Just kidding. My answer is not yet.
A wild homebrew.
A wild homebrew attacks. It's super effective. And I think that'll do it for the social media questions for today. Thank you, everybody who wrote in. So that was our last social media question. Our next social media question is, have you ever played a character that was explicitly based on you? Like based on yourself. Mm-hmm. So, not just like, have you played a character that was, kind of had a little bit of you in it. Have you ever played a character that was, you're playing as yourself in a fantasy game?
Oh, sure.
I don't think I have. Not that it was explicitly made to resemble myself.
Sure.
I usually kind of ends up that way, but I don't know that I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like maybe like early on, it's like a character that's more of just a power fantasy kind of thing, but like not explicitly like, oh, this is me in the game.
I don't foresee getting very many responses to this question. It'd be cool if somebody had, I'd love to hear about it, but I am curious.
Gabe, didn't you do, or sort of?
So here's the thing. I didn't actually get to play him, but I did make a character fully intending to play them. There was an Eberron campaign we were going to be running where I don't even necessarily think, I think this was just a random idea I had, but the idea I had was I wanted to play, I had another character made, and then I was going to take the leadership feat, and the cohort I was going to have for that character was going to be me magically transported into a fantasy world. Right. I even wrote a short story from the perspective of me finding myself waking up in Eberron. I think like I was like in a car accident or something, and I woke up in Eberron. And so I was fully intending to play the campaign, possibly even write more short stories as this character. As it goes, it never actually happened, but
right.
I 100% intended for that. I had my character statted out. His name was not Gabe Kleiner, it was Klein Gabert, I think is the name that I was going with.
Nice. Stop it. Great.
So yeah, that short story is up on the Patreon. I put it up a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
If any of our patrons want to read that. It was very early writing from me, so it's probably terrible. I haven't read it in a long time. So yeah, again, I don't expect many people to say yes, but even if your answer is no, but, if there is something, maybe you wanted to, maybe you know someone who did, I'd love to hear about it. So that'll do it for our questions for today. But before we close out, let's wind down. Let's take a deep breath. Let's remember those who have come before us, who have given their lives that we may have a better world to live in, as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. I'm sorry, Jamie, do you by chance have a story of a character death you would like to share?
We actually, in my one more kind of roleplay heavy campaign that I'm in, we actually just had a PC die. And it was like, and again, this is like everyone in the game has like a theater background.
Okay.
So the player actually had like a song. So the character died. We basically kind of had sort of a funeral, and sort of the spirit of this character appeared. And the player basically sang this like song that was like a song that they were like planning to sing to their mother someday. That they were looking to like reunite with their mother, and it was like this very like kind of touching little moment.
Sure.
So I mean, that was probably one of the more emotionally impactful sessions that I've been a part of.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that's in terms of. I mean, often when a character dies in a lot of games I played, it's sort of like, well, they're dead. Let's bring in their replacement.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
But
their brother who has the same name.
Sure.
Right.
but that was a moment where it was definitely like this was actually like a like story moment. That like had some weight to it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's I think that any group that does not make story or gameplay out of a character's death, you're just leaving money on the table. Could be fun stuff. Fun stuff could come of that.
Yeah, because even if you just plan on just tear another clean sheet off the printer or whatever, you still should do something cool with the character death. I don't know.
Yeah.
I will admit, I often have a little bit of a death wish when I'm playing a character because I really like making new characters.
Yeah.
I often like making characters more than I like playing them. So often, even if I'm like really enjoying playing a character, I'll have in the back of my head, I'll be like, "What am I going to do if this character dies?"
Yeah, it's like, what should I make next?
Yeah.
Well, if you knew Tom Hanks when you were in college and you're playing mazes and monsters with him,
oh no,
you could sacrifice your character.
You have to leave Elfstar.
All right. Do you recall what the character's name was?
The character who died his name was Roscoe. He was a halfling monk.
Okay. Let's raise a glass in memory of Roscoe as we sing a fond farewell.
Clink.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jamie, for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Once again, do you want to tell our listeners where they can find you? Anything else you're working on?
Sure. You can find my YouTube channel, Needs More Gay. It's at needsmoregay.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Rantasmo. It's RANTASMO. And yeah, that's me.
Cool. All right, to submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict. On Reddit, we're on our Interparty Discord. We're on Twitter @InPartyConflict. Check those out for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on the podcatcher of your choice. We're on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you want to support the show monetarily, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. We have a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, will go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where you can watch us play video games.
There you go. Also head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games, courtesy of the great people over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time.
Gabe, I can't lie to you. I never know how to end these episodes.